Hi and welcome to this video to create your own M365 Pro custom firmware. Please note that this tutorial is only for the M365 Pro. If you have a classic M365, I've done another tutorial that is available right now on your screen. A lot of options are different, so I highly recommend to use my other tutorial if you have a classic M365. I'm using this website, which is available in the description below, and there are a lot of options, so we are going to do a quick tour of them, and please remember that you do whatever you want. But I'm going to explain which settings I use and why. So let's get started. Base version of your firmware, as there is only 1.5.5 available, so it's very fast to change this setting. Of course, I'm kidding. Output file, you have the choice between zip, zip v2 and coded bin or bin. I highly recommend to use zip because if you flash the firmware with M365 DownG or Shell Flasher, they both use zip files, so you don't have to change it, but you can if you have a specific need, of course. Version spoofing, that's a bit controversial, this setting, because if you flash a custom firmware using 1.5.5, every time you will launch the Xiaomi Mi app, it will ask to do an update. This settings creates a new name of version, which is 5.3.8 or sometimes 5.5.5, to impeach Mi Home of wanting to upgrade. So this is a very cool thing, but the problem is that I've heard a lot of people that are stuck in the custom firmware because of this. They cannot just upgrade and have an official firmware. So this is very cool, but I highly recommend to disable it, because if you're stuck in a custom firmware and you just want to go back to an official firmware, it's much more convenient to be able to do it. So it's up to you, but for now it's a cool feature, but it doesn't work very well, unfortunately. Curse minimum speed. If you don't know what is curse, it means kinetic energy recovery system. This is a braking built into the motor that saves on energy, so creates energy via braking and puts it again in the battery. It's a very nice thing in e-scooters. It's set to 3 kilometers. It means that if you are, for example, at 25 kilometers per hour, it will brake slowly until 3 kilometers per hour and then stop to brake. You can patch it to be lower, for example 1 kilometer per hour, but I think it's better until 1 kilometer per hour. There's also the other way of removing it, if you just have to put 40 kilometers per hour, but I don't recommend this because some people have a lot of problems with this. It destroys the motherboard, for example, so I would recommend to stay at 3 kilometers per hour or just put 1 or 5. This is up to you, but for me it's 1 kilometer per hour. Let's continue. Maximum speed in sport mode. If you buy an M365 Pro, it will go to 25 kilometers per hour, but you can patch it to go to up to 35 kilometers, but please note that you have to add +1 to actually drive this fast. So if you want to go at 35 kilometers per hour, you have to put 36. But please remember that it's illegal in many countries to drive that fast. Many countries are allowing only 25 kilometers per hour, so please check the law in your country. Change currents in sport mode. I don't recommend to change this. It's how much current you have available in sport mode. You can upgrade it, for example, to 60,000 or 65,000, but I wouldn't do it because it's already very powerful. That's it. Maximum speed in drive mode, it's up to you. Personally, I like to have, for example, 35 kilometers per hour in sport mode, 25 in drive mode and 20 in eco mode, but it's up to you. Just remember that you have to add +1 to actually drive this fast, but it's a nice balance, I think, these settings, but it's up to you, of course. Current raising coefficient. It's how fast current will be applied. It changes the way your scooter accelerates. I personally think that it's already very fast to accelerate, so I wouldn't change this. But if you want to have an even faster acceleration, you can put, for example, you are at 500 or maybe 600, not that much, sorry, like 600 or 700, but 500 is okay for me. Motor start speed, this is a very interesting setting, because when you buy a brand new M365 Pro, you go at, the motor starts only at 5 kilometers per hour, which is not very convenient or comfortable, because you have to push the scooter quite a lot before the motor starts when you push the throttle. I prefer to put it to, for example, 0.1 kilometer per hour. With this setting like this, you just have to push a little bit, you need just to have some small movement, and it will accelerate when you push the throttle. But it's up to you. You can put, for example, 1 or 2 kilometers per hour. It's up to you, but I like it to be at 0.1 kilometers per hour. Patch brake lever params. This is about braking and how much it will brake, but I think it's quite dangerous to touch to these settings, because the braking is a very important thing, so I wouldn't change this. Cruise control delay. Unfortunately for now it's disabled, but I hope it will be fixed in the upcoming weeks or month. This setting controls how much time you require to have the cruise control activated. I would prefer to be at around 3 seconds and not 5, but it's up to you. If it's available, it's up to you. Cruise control short beep. Currently, if you have a cruise control activated, it produces like a beep, and if you enable this setting, it will just be beep like this. It's much more convenient and agreeable to the ear, so it's up to you, but I prefer it to be with a short beep. Set write permission for all registers. Allows you to write to any DRV register. It's better for the settings to work correctly. Battery saving voltage threshold. This setting is very interesting, because if you're in sport mode, you've unlocked your M365 Pro and it goes to 35 kilometers. If your battery is low, running out of juice, it will reduce the speed because of a low voltage. If you don't want it to be like this, if you just want to go 35 kilometers all the way through the battery level, it doesn't mean anything, but you get me, I hope. You can patch it to be at around 30, for example, because 30 volts, it won't slow down the scooter even though the voltage is low. But to have a better battery lifetime, it's better to leave it at 34 volts. Battery voltage limits, it's only if you have a custom battery, which would have a higher voltage. If you don't have a custom battery, you don't have to change this. Remove charging mode. It's also if you have an external battery, not a custom but an external battery. This is a problem. So if you have an external battery and your scooter goes into charge mode, just check this option and it will be fixed. Change ESC to BMS baud rate to 76800. This setting is only compatible with open source BMS, so you probably don't have an open source BMS, so I won't explain this because it's a bit complicated. Motor power constant, very important setting, because it's how powerful your motor will be. It's completely different from the maximum speed. It's like the power you will have when you accelerate or when you climb a hill, for example. Basically it's at 51,575. I highly recommend, if you want more power, to put it at around 45,000 or like 40,000, but it's already very much. If you are at 40,000, it's very powerful. You can see that you can go even more than this at like 25,000, but I won't recommend this because it will produce a lot of heat in the motor and you will kill your battery by doing this. So it's up to you, like always, but I wouldn't recommend to go lower than 40,000. And Russian throttle algorithm from custom firmware. This setting is very important if you have some problem with the maximum speed. If you put 36 kilometers and you just can't go further than 32 or 31 kilometers per hour with your Pro, I highly recommend to test again with a Russian throttle algorithm option activated. It fixes a lot of problems with this. So I think that's been it. When you have checked all your options, you just have to patch, click on patch here, and it will produce a custom firmware that you can flash with M365 Down-G or Shell Flasher. If you don't know how to do this, I highly recommend to use my tutorial, which is right here, and it will be very easy for you. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you have any question, feel free to ask them in the comment section below. I'll see you again in the next video.